2 weeks ago, I got a call from a young man who called me and told me, Jalango, I've tried everything in my life and nothing seemed to work for me. I asked him, how old are you? He told me he's 23. At 23, this guy had already tried everything and nothing seems to work for him. So he was giving up in his life. At 23, I was a fisherman and a fishmonger in Homa Bay town. That is where I began my story. I was a fisherman who would go to the lake, cast our nets in the middle of the night, in the morning pull the nets and sell fish to the women at the shore. That same picture that maybe some of you have been seeing going around on social media, that was me at the beach of Homa Bay selling fish. How did I end up being a fishmonger? I went to Homa Bay Lake Primary School, P.O. Box 217. 217 Homa Bay. That is where it all began. Born up in an average family, growing up, today there's food, tomorrow there's no food, there's rent today, tomorrow the house is locked. But then I did my KCPE. And when I did my KCPE, I got a calling to Maseno School. And you know how it used to be a long time, that you could not get a chance to go to Maseno School or any other national school if you didn't have the money or you didn't get there in time or your chance would be taken. So my dad tried to put all the resources that he had together and we headed to Maseno School. When we got to Maseno School, it was a week later. The calling day had gone and I'd lost my chance to join Maseno School. I saw my dad pull my box, I was wearing my Maseno School uniform, and we left Maseno School. The only dream that my dad had, that this would be the way that will open doors for this humble family. We left, and I went to Barkanyango Secondary School, P.O. Box 14, Nyamonye. So I went to Barkanyango for my first year, fully dressed in a Maseno School uniform, in a different school, because my dad could not again come back to Blackberry to buy another uniform because he had used everything that he had. And that was it. That's where it all began. I went to the school, but then even school fees at Barkanyango on the second term became even a bigger problem because my elder brother, George, was also in Form 2 that time at Nyangoma Boys Secondary School, P.O. Box 23, Bondo. So since my dad had already had a good relationship with the principal at Nyangoma Boys, I was allowed to be transferred back to Nyangoma Boys, and my brother had to drop school so that I could go on because he saw the potential in me better than him. So he gave me a chance to use his school fees in school. At Nyangoma Boys, school fees was not one of those things that my dad had all the time. My dad was that kind of man who would pay school fees with anything. He would bring maize, he would bring firewood. You know how school needs maize. So if I bring maize, that is also school fees. So I used to see my dad come, and he's the kind of old man who will come when people are still in the assembly. And you wonder, why couldn't you just wait? Why couldn't you just wait up to when the assembly is done so that you can push this thing? So seeing my old man and the school team count each and every can of Gorogoro maize, and I knew that that was my school fees my old man was paying. Ladies and gentlemen, each and every single day, I knew that I had to make this chance count for me. I did my KC SE, and at Nyangoma Boys, being the average school that it was, things like Bunsen Banner, we saw the day of the exam. This is very true. You walk into an exam, okay, it is burning, hey. What do you do with it? A friend of mine mixed everything and it exploded. He said, observation explosive. Because he had never seen it anywhere. He had never seen these things anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I got C+. Luos don't fail. I got a very strong C+. Then, with my C+, a C+ at Nyangoma Boys High School is an equivalent of an A-plane at Starehe or any other places. Yes. Why that I was at Maseno at that time, I would have gone and got myself a what? An A-plane. But I was at Nyangoma Boys, and armed with my C+, I went back home. I went back to Homa Bay, and there was this 1 year period where guys wait to later join the college, and all the people around me, the young men we grew with, went to the colleges, universities. And at this point, I asked my dad, when am I going to college? My dad has never laughed like that. He told me, you've seen what I've gone through trying to take you to college. What in your sane mind thinks, high school, what in your sane mind thinks I can even afford to pay your college fees? That's how I got myself working at Capital Fish Kenya Limited in Homa Bay. I don't know the PO box because there was no reason to remind yourself of such a place, or being a fishmonger at the lake, or going into the darkness and bringing fish in the morning to sell for the women out there. One day my dad woke up and gave me 2 shirts, 2 trousers, and 800 shillings, and told me, go to college and go be a man. I had to rise up to that occasion. I took a bus from Homa Bay, went to Nairobi. When I landed to Nairobi, he had organized with a few guys who were his friends he had met a long time ago, who were already in Nairobi at that time. When I went to Nairobi, the first place I landed was at Lavington. And this guy took me through his house appliances, the fridge, the cooker, and made sure that 2 weeks later, when I'd already known how everything worked in the house, he sent everybody away, and I became his house manager. I became his house manager, so I would clean, wash his car, close the gate, wash his children, do everything. And that's what I used to do. It was a relative. Then one day, I just said, this is not what I wanted. And I'd already started making contacts with a few of relatives who were in Nairobi that time. One of them is called Uncle Chieng, who one day when I left Lavington, I went to live with in a place called Kware Embakasi at the slum. And he told me, I've been waiting for you. Nobody comes from the village and goes to Lavington. This is where... This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins. So I started staying with him in his house. In his house, that's where I stayed with him. But I knew that I had this passion of acting, which from high school and everywhere, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. But then through acting or wanting to go, I didn't know where to start from. And even before I started going to the National Theatre, I'd done every single manual job in Nairobi. Mjengo, washa gari, kwanza mjengo mbaya, ile ya kubomoa. Wacha kujenga. You know, done almost every single manual job just to try to make sure that we had food on our table. But I give it back to Uncle Chieng, who each and every single time, even after working at industrial area, still used to give me fare to go to the National Theatre to pursue my passion. So one day, I got a chance to the auditions. And when I auditioned, I was taken to the second cast. There's always the first cast and the second cast. So in case the first cast, somebody gets sick or ill, you can always take the role. And we were doing the set books. This was after almost 3 years. Nobody was getting sick or getting or leaving. Nobody was leaving from the first cast. So I was back and forth, still going back to doing my manual jobs, coming back to the National Theatre without giving up, knowing where my passion and what I wanted to do was lying at that point. So what happened, one day we were doing the set books, and the students came in large numbers, and the show was really big. Then everybody was paid. And one person in the main cast decided to go drinking that night. So the next day, the students came again. It's a big show, but this guy is missing. And he was playing one of the lead roles in that show. And because the students had to go back to school and time was running out, I got a chance to step in. And I told God, this is the only chance that I've been waiting for. Give me the courage to prove that, you know what, I'm already and ready for this. So everybody in the cast said, let's see what this guy will do. So they came by the wings of the theater or the curtains to see how I was going to spoil their big play because I was a no one. And to date, I still remain one of the best Swahili narrators at the National Theatre. Because when I got on that stage that day, I gave it my all. And to date, I still remember every single word of that show. I went on that stage, and it was the opening, and I said, karibuni sana katika mwisho wa kosa. Ni riwaya iliyoandikwa na Z Bruani na kuchapishwa na Longhorn Publishers. Na kwa idhini ya Longhorn kunakiliwa kwa tamthilia. Naye Bwana Jasper Okda, mkurugenzi wa kikundi maarufu Jicho 4 Productions. Kikundi kinachojishughulisha na uigizaji jukwani vitabu vya fasihi katika shule za upili nchini Kenya. Ili tujue ni msika yupi aliyotenda kosa lipi na vipi na lini na kwa nini. Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu, you understand? I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And that guy, wherever he was and he was drinking, he was told, you, go on drinking. And from that day, I got the chance to be on that stage again and again and again. Then I'm not the kind of person to stay at a place for a long time. We decided, you know, this acting is not, this set books is not working really well. Because how much were we being paid? 200, 300 per day, per book and everything. We decided to venture in a different venture. We decided to put Luo plays together. The Luo plays that we started, and I've seen one of the first people to ever record us up. Wandago, are you? Albert? Alwan? Alwan, I saw you. There he is. This is the guy who put up that amazing Luo play called Kibritol Waripi. And Governor is here. He never missed any of our plays at the National Theatre. He never missed any of our plays at the National Theatre. And I appreciate you and thank you for holding my hands throughout that time. And after all that, one day, we decided, you know what? Let's start and try something on television. That time, Citizen TV had started bringing up the new local programs. Papa Shirandula, Inspector Mwala, all that were coming up. Then we were called up for Papa Shirandula. For one scene, Will brother, our sister was getting married, and they're supposed to be relatives coming from Mugenya. And we were just to make an appearance in one scene. And I told my best friend Otoyo that, you know, listen, this is the chance we've been waiting for. When that camera roll, let us do anything possible for these people to retain us in this play. So when the cameras went on, everything that we were told to do, we didn't do. We did what we had planned together. And we made them change the script that, you know what, when everybody was going back to Kenya, Jalango and Otoyo jumped through the window of the bus, and they are still somewhere in Nairobi, for them to look for how to put us in that script. You see, that gave me one very big lesson, that anytime you get a chance to do something, do it and give it your all. You only have two chances. You either do it or you don't do it. There's never doing it, oh, kidogo, kidogo. No. Give it your best. And things happened very quickly. Things happened and turned very quickly. The same time, we were just starting to make our names on this show. Nyambane had just left Kiss 100. And Kiss had called out for the search of the person to replace Nyambane. So you know how KISS was big and is big at announcing such a vacancy. And people came, 1,001 of them. And the first thing that happened is a crowd like this, they came out and said, thank you so much for coming. If you have a degree, step to the left. If you don't have, step to the right. Remember, mimi na degree. I'd never seen the doors of the university at that time. But I said, what will happen? What can really happen? So I went to the guys with the degree. And I stood there. I went to the side with the people with the degree. And I stood that side. Then they came again and said, if you have a degree, thank you so much for you people who have a degree, but if you have a degree in media-related studies, stand to the left. If you don't have, please, thank you for coming. Oh. I went to be with the people who had a degree in. I was just asking myself, what will happen? What's the worst they can do? Then they asked and said, now, almost to the last part, if you have a degree, and it's a degree in communication, and now, if you've been in any radio show or TV show, move to the right. I went to the right, and other people left, and we were left, 7 of us out of that 1,000 people. Now it was the time now to face the panel. Remember, I don't have anything these people are asking. Confidence, my guy, confidence. 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 What's the worst that can happen? Nothing. They'll just tell you you are not qualified. But I said, let me see what happens to the inside these interviews. So I went and they quickly ask you, please bring your papers and everything. Introduce yourself as you. I told them, first, thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't have anything you've been asking for, but I think I'm the person you're looking for. All of them went quiet. And a man called Patrick Wako PQ, the owner of Radio Africa, told me, I think I like this guy. When everybody was leaving, he still stood and made sure that he's here without all these things. Let's try him on air. So we were 7 of us that were tried on air. And the first day, I went on air with Caroline Mutoko. And it was a big thing. Caroline was this untouchable, no nonsense woman. And I'm wondering, now what will I say? So now walk in. First, she's too beautiful. So I'm starting looking at her. So what happened is, she introduced the show that morning and she said, welcome, this is KISS 100, Nairobi's #1 music station. My name is Caroline Mutoko and I'm with, so I went blank. And she told me, speak, young man. I told her, woman, where I come from, women do not speak very loud to men. Reduce your volume. So she switched off the microphone and told me, nobody has ever told me anything like that. But I think I like you. Are you ready now? So we went on and the trials went on. All these guys were tried, and it got to a point where everybody was being dropped. In the third week, 2 people were dropped off the 7. The second week came, another 2 were dropped, so we were left the 3 of us. On the last week now, we were 3 of us, 1 person left, and I was left with Larry Asegu. Now it was the day to determine who is going to replace Nyambane. So me and Larry were called in there, and we're standing up there. And they told us, it's been a long journey trying to look for this replacement, and today the journey ends. And we've decided we will employ both of you. So all those other guys with their degrees and everything, and I'm here standing. So if you remember very well, we went on air, the 3 of us, Caroline, Larry, and Jalango, because the trial was still going on. 2 months later, Larry was dropped, and I was left as a co-presenter with Caroline, the two of us, from all that journey. Taught me one thing: confidence and always believing that you can do it. Even when nobody else believes in you, you can always do it. Rise up, guys. Rise up. And we created one of the biggest shows in the country, Kiss 100 Breakfast Show. 3 years later, I decided that this was not everything, because I hate being in a comfort zone where you see each and every morning you wake up, no challenge, you guys are always number one and everything. I woke up and went to Radio Maisha, which was number 48 radio station at that time. And we created a collab with a friend of mine called Alex Mwakideo. We knew that it's about commitment. Radio is not hard, but to find somebody who, my day, each and every day starts at 3:30 in the morning. By 4, we are ready at work. We have 2 hours of prep and then make the show go on, because we prepare for 2 hours because we are going to talk for 4 hours. So very few people or young men who come to those shows are able to put up that kind of work. The discipline and making sure that wherever you are, make sure that you show up. We created this show. The first quarter, we were at number 28. We said this thing can be done. Then we came to number 17, to number 18. On the second year, on the last quarter, Radio Maisha was number 1 morning show. And to date. Then when it became number 1, I said, why not? Let's try something new. That's where I am now with Jeff Koinange at Hot 96. Still pushing and making sure that I'm building my brand each and every single day. But the saddest thing that happened to me, that same day Caroline Mutoko told me that, you know what, you've been taken in as the replacement, is the same day my dad passed on. I really wish that he was able to be here today to see what all this. But he wrote for me a letter before he died and told me, make sure that you build your mama a house and make sure that your siblings go to school. I got my mama modest place back in Shags, where she lives, and my brothers went to school, and that's why I'm in college right now, taking my degree. Hopefully enough, I will graduate in 2019 if the strikes stop, but if they eventually stop. But to me, giving back and making sure that against all odds, you can always still stand up and become what you do. Nobody has ever known how little my education is, for that matter. But I stand and inspire so many young men here in Kisumu who I still look back to, and I've always made sure that whatever little I can always come back and bring back to Kisumu, I've always done. I have a few investments down here that I've got guys who actually work with us here and make sure that I inspire them to be what they want to be in life. In Nairobi, I do that morning radio show, but I run a company called Arena Media. Arena Media is a below the market and above the market advertising agency. We are big in TV advertisement. We've created some of the biggest brands out here and marketing strategies out here for so many big brands. How did I start Arena Media? I used to be called to MC events. Then I would wake up and say, you know what? There's somebody who brought the speakers and the sound. So I would go and tell the person calling me to MC and tell them, you know, I don't use any other person's microphone. I use my own. So they would hire me plus my sound. Then later I realized, there's somebody who was coming with photography. So I tell me, you know, there are some cameras that do not work very well in event. So if you want me in your event, you take me, myself, my sound, my camera. I didn't have a band, but I could go and hustle a band and make them my personal band and tell them, you know what? So from today, whichever show we are going, I'll always be going with you if they need a band. So anytime I went to a negotiation table, I would sit down and tell them, if you want me to MC your event, I come with my band, my photographer, myself, my sound and everything. So we all got all that together, and that's how we started supplying sound, stage and everything. That told me one thing: when you see an opportunity somewhere, grab it and run away with it. There's always big opportunities up here. And Kisumu Kisumu is just starting up, and we do very good jobs. One of the jobs we've done was actually for Archie back in 2011. We did one of the biggest advertisement for them for Pangoni Resort Hotel in Mombasa. And it was a big thing. From that, we've created some big advertisement. Usiseme maziwa sema? Tissue, sio tissue, tissue ni? And you see things like that, and people relate with. And we've created brands out there from little thinking and making sure that no opportunity passes us. Kisumu